With the second pick of the 2024 MLB Draft, the Cincinnati Reds select Chase Burns.
It's hammered down the left field line and way gone. A solo home run for Alfredo Duno.
Collier swats one into left field, testing the line. That is down, a base hit. Rogers is coming around third. He will score. To replace him at second is Cam Collier with a stand-up double.
Find it short, up in the air. Arroyo steals a base hit.
A swing and a fly ball down the left field line, hooking toward the corner. It is a fair ball, and it is gone. Home run re-signs.
Make it two! Cano jumps on the first pitch and lines it to right. Blue crosses the plate, and the Tortugas will not say die tonight.
Lewis takes inside, throw to second, is on a hop, and it is not in time. And there is stolen base number 50 for Kyle Headley.
There's a swing and a fly ball into center. Dunn going back on the warning track, leaps at the wall, makes the catch. Dunn holding in. Ball game over.
Swing, here's a well-hit ball to right field. Moving back to the wall. Campbell, that ball is good! This game is tied!
That's airborne into the gap, into right field. Diving forward and making the catch is Hendrick.
Ian Vu with a skyscraping blast out to right. Daytona is on the board.
There's a swing and a fly ball to left. Rodriguez turns around. It's gone just over the wall into the seats. Home run, Sal Stewart. Kind of a high-liner. It got out of here in a hurry.
Fly ball center field. Jorge there. And it is caught. Campanon cut in front and caught the ball. Put this game in the win column. Put this winning streak at 14. It's a new club record.
Righty sends. Hendrick signs. Drives it out into right field. That's going to be the ball game. Look out, Twin. Look out, Twin. Hendrick comes through. What a play. What a bat for Hendrick, the fans, and the Chattanooga Lookouts.
Welcome to Red Hot Reds Minor League Mondays, a Cincinnati Reds minor league podcast, the only podcast out there exclusively dedicated to the Cincinnati Reds minor leagues. And we are back on Minor League Monday talking about Daytona and Dayton, which are the Class A and the High A part of the organization. And Ricky, I know we talk about this a lot on our other show with basically these two teams being basically kind of a lot of rich talent that has a bunch of guys coming stateside or being promoted through the Arizona Complex League, getting into what is affiliate ball. And we are very excited to talk about these guys because they could be major leaguers. I like to dub basically this class coming through, the class of 2027. A bunch of these guys we're going to talk about today are going to be, part of that class of 2027. Ricky, it's been a while. We're back at it on Mondays. How you been?
Doing well. A lot of good talent coming up that we're really excited to talk about, and a lot of guys that you might not have heard of before. Kind of leading into our new segment we're doing, the prospects to know. A lot of talent coming through the pike, and this organization that we're really excited about.
Oh, absolutely. And also Dayton is more or less my hometown team. I'm closer to Cincinnati, I feel, or closer to Dayton than I am to Cincinnati. So we are both at least planning on trying to go out there and see a bunch of these guys, some guys that we've had on the podcast or possibly be in Dayton. And also we'll have a situation where our number 2 prospect in our rankings, he might be there as well. But before we get into all that, we're actually going to focus on Daytona and the pitchers out of Daytona. So, Ricky, this is kind of interesting because there's a lot of guys that get into Daytona from basically rookie ball ACL, whether they're from the DSL, coming over stateside and they get into the ACL and be able to work on their craft and get after it. And then there's guys that are just getting into Daytona that maybe have 1 year of professional out of high school. So these guys can be really raw, really toolsy, really kind of, you don't know exactly what you're going to get, but you might have like a guy that's coming to mind is Aaron Watson, who really surprised us at the spring breakout game. He's a guy that possibly could be a Daytona pitcher in the next couple weeks when they finalize the roster. They finalized Louisville's roster finally because they're getting their season underway, but they haven't really finalized these rosters as of yet. So we're still kind of making some predictions. What are your first thoughts on Daytona pitchers to watch?
Yeah, I like Shingen Lin a lot. I'm assuming he's going to start down there just considering he came up in I think July or August of last year. Pitched in 15 games total between the ACL and Daytona. 0-2, 3.06 ERA in 47 innings. Had 61 strikeouts with an 0.94 WHIP. It's a good sign from him, especially being a two-way prospect. And I think they're going to lean more into that this year and give him more opportunities to do both in the same game and get more at bats during the season. I think that, when people, I think people nowadays hear the word two-way player and they automatically go Shohei Ohtani, where it's like 50 home run power and just lights out pitching stuff. But if we can get a better version of Michael Lorenzen out of him, that's a win, and that's a positive to the ball club, especially when you can have, an above average arm and an above average bat, whether it's for power or for average, just whatever he develops into. But I'm really excited about Shingen Lin a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's definitely an interesting situation with him because they seem to, I don't know. I feel like, I guess turn it back over to you in a second. Like, are they just going to focus on his pitching? It doesn't look like he hit much at the end of his time at the Complex League going, right before he went up to Daytona. What are your thoughts there? Or do you think he's going to be a guy that's going to be doing both at Daytona, or is it going to be a part-time kind of thing hitting? It seems like they focus on his pitching a lot lately.
Yeah, so what I remember from when he was originally signed and came up through the ACL, like he's been a 3-year ACL hitter. He came up in 23, played in 9 games, 28 at bats, had 6 hits. In 24, he had 172 at bats in 49 games in the ACL. And then in the ACL last year, he had 36 games, 87 at bats. It seems like they're kind of flip-flopping between hitting 1 year and pitching another year. And I think that was on purpose to get him to doing one thing and doing one thing well. But they know that they're going to use him as the two-way type player. And I could be totally wrong, but I could see him doing both this year just based off of he hit in the ACL and he pitched in low A last year. I think that was just to get him acclimated to low A. And that could be more of like that warm up to go, okay, like you know how to face low A hitters now. Let's see you face low A pitching, and then we'll use both because they have some talent down there that I think there's one that you're going to highlight in low A and in low A, but I think they're going to use. I think he's going to do both.
Yeah, my guy to watch, I kind of mentioned him a little bit, Aaron Watson for sure, is a guy I'd definitely watch. He didn't pitch at all last year, I believe. Like he was either just drafted and they kind of gave him some rest because they do that sometimes when they draft guys in the first or second round. They'll give them that year off to maybe just work in the Complex League or work in the backfields to kind of, work in whatever the red system to get him kind of acclimated to professional baseball or what have you. But everyone saw in the spring breakout game. I think he's a guy that if you didn't know, now you know about Aaron Watson. But also another guy that I think is your guy. I don't mean to steal him from you, but we may have a prospects to know coming out about him. And Mr. Starlin Torres is a guy that's going to be really to watch at Daytona. And he was one of those international free agent signings. It looks like here January 2024. So he's a really not even turned 20 yet. So he's 19 years old, about to turn 20, and he's a real another one to just have a bunch of pitches, toolsy type pitcher that we're going to be keeping eyes on, and I know you will as well, Ricky.
Yeah, I've wrote about him as like one of my prospects to watch this year. I'm like he kind of burst onto the scene last year. It was his first season stateside. He pitched in the ACL last year, and if my internet will load, he was I believe he had an ERA under 1, if I remember right. It was really low. Let me get it right. For some reason, my internet is just not working.
He had here, a 1.88 ERA for the ACL Reds, pitching in 10 games, starting 6, 38 and 1/3 inning, 44 strikeouts in those 38 innings, which usually Arizona is kind of a hitter's area, as you can see in spring training. But to dominate ACL at 19 years old.
So I was thinking of WHIP. It is a sub-1 WHIP, 0.86 is his WHIP. Career 24 games, a 1.81 ERA, 94 and 2/3 innings, 95 strikeouts. He has really good command over all of his pitches, and that's one thing that they highlighted in the MLB.com top 30 is that he finally got added to that. And I think he's just gonna climb that even faster. Just he's so good with his command, like at such a young age, that I think he's going to develop into his body, grow. He's still 19, like he could still grow, and velocity could come. Like I think he throws about 93, 95 now, and he could hit 97 easily as he gets stronger and starts working out with more, MLB ready trainers in Arizona, in Daytona, in Dayton, and as he climbs the ladder. So I'm excited about him.
For sure. Our number 16, Starlin Torres, top prospect in our top 30 list as well. So we value him a lot here for the Red Hot Reds. So we're really looking forward, and we'll keep tabs on him for sure coming up this season. Any other thoughts on the Daytona pitchers to watch for 2026?
There was one that I thought was going to be in Daytona, but then the more I thought about it, he's probably not. So I'll leave him off.
Okay, maybe that'll be the ACL preview that we'll be doing probably in a couple weeks' time. Look out for that. We'll preview the ACL and the Dominican Summer Leagues, which that even go in a bigger deep dive into our prospects.
There's one that I'll just mention a name. I don't know if it's official yet, but Iker Rodona. He was a DSL guy last year, DSL All-Star. He was 17. I think he's earned the right to come up to the States. He's from Mexico, so it wouldn't be like a culture shock for him. But he's 18 right now, and I think he could easily be an ACL guy at minimum, but he could be maybe knocking on the door of low A very, very shortly.
Yeah, and I know for sure him and Moises Castillo were stateside in the backfields for spring training. So they brought him over to Arizona to work out and work in the minor league camp this spring. So I think they really value him a lot. So I wouldn't be surprised. It could be a toss up. Maybe they give him one more year at ACL, and maybe they promote him up to Dayton midseason, kind of like Shengen Lin and some of the other guys that we've talked about. So that'll be very interesting. Keep tabs on Iker Rodona. Maybe a future prospect to know segment coming up for him, maybe possibly as well. We'll see. But yeah, Daytona hitters. This is going to be interesting as well, because Daytona has a bunch of guys that we're really big on in the hitting category. I mean, just like Tyson Lewis, who spent a lot of time in the big league camp playing third base, which we can even maybe possibly talk about that. Is that the future position of a Tyson Lewis with, an Edwin Arroyo ahead of him and Ellie De La Cruz possibly being still around at shortstop. Some other guys that we're really big fans of, like a Mason Neville, how is he going to work out this year in his first full season in the pros? Because he was drafted, I believe, last year, the 4th round pick, right? And he played only a little bit at July, August, September type of abbreviated season. So that's another one to keep an eye out. Also, our Aussie, our Drew Davies down there, a guy that met down in Phoenix, and he'll be, or Goodyear, I should say. He'll be interesting to see how he progresses, because he's a really tall, big, strong guy that could play first base or the outfield, and maybe possibly get up to Dayton sometime. Who knows? I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities with these guys who are still pretty young, but if they climb quickly enough, if they progress quickly enough, they could be moving up to Dayton sooner or later. Are there any specific hitters that you're looking at for Daytona in 2026?
There's 2 that I'll name. Ichiro Kano. He played a little bit in Daytona last year. There's in our intro, there's a clip where Kian Vu ties the game, and then the next batter's Kano, and he walks it off. And we've seen the clutch gene from him, either in the Reds organization, but we saw it a lot in winter ball this year too. He had some clutch hits, and it was kind of nice seeing him in HD. So it'd be I don't think he'll be in Daytona long. I think just because he plays second base, he's still just 21. Like, he just turned 21 in February, so I think he could be a fast riser. And then to have a name like Ichiro Kano is just incredible. And then, as Reds fans should know, his middle name is Santiago Espinal.
Yeah.
So like, he's got the baseball name, and it's just last year 195 at bats, 262 average, 2 home runs, 4 stolen bases, a 755 OPS. That's pretty good for a second baseman. I like his game a lot. I think he's a lefty. I just like his game a lot. And then I guess if I had to name one other player, I'll probably go with Eli Pitts. He was the Reds draft pick this past draft in the 5th round. He's just 19 years old. I like his potential. I don't think he debuted last year, if I remember right. If he did, it was towards the very end of the season. But I think he's got some really good potential to be a solid hitter, but I think they have him projected in ACL. Yeah, he didn't have any stats last year, so he didn't begin the year. He didn't play last year, so he could be potentially an ACL guy, but there's a chance. I think Fangraphs has him as a Daytona player, so that's something to keep an eye on with him.
Yeah. Another guy to shout out, Arnaldo Arnaldo Lantua is a guy that got promoted through the ACL, had a great ACL season, 10 homers, 40 RBIs, and 49 games in the ACL. Got up to Dayton and still continue to hit there. That'll be interesting to see a full season in Daytona for him, because Clay Snowden sometimes comes on here, talks about our minor league outfield depth isn't that great, but we got this guy, and he could be a good one. He plays all 3 outfield positions. Could be a guy that could possibly be moving up to Dayton this year sometime as well. And also our guy Kian Vu. I don't know exactly where he's going to end up, but I know the organization really likes him. He's a guy that can play all 3 outfield positions and excels at center, so he has that great defensive capability, which again this organization values. Do you see Vu starting in Dayton, or do you see him possibly having a full year again in Daytona?
I like his game a lot. And from talking to him, he proclaims to be a defense first guy. He does very well offensively, in my opinion. I see him starting in Dayton. I could see him playing just those few weeks or month that he had last year. he got off to that slow start. What was it? 0 for 10, like 6 strikeouts, only reached base by a hit by pitch. And then he goes out and wins Player of the Week the next week, and all of his hits were extra base hits or a home run. So, and then to add to that, his defensive ability, he told us that he was a really big fan of Ichiro back in the day growing up, and he kind of models his game after that. And you were down there in Arizona, and you got to see him kind of play a little bit.
Yeah.
I know Mike Ballantyne had some videos of him hitting batting practice. Looks good, man. I'm really excited about him. I think he's one that he could be, in one of our later segments, fastest riser. I think he could climb really quick.
Yeah, I saw a lot of discipline in him, and I think I might have texted you or maybe I texted Mike. I saw a lot of Stephen Kwan out of him, like just a solid player.
That's a good
in every kind of facet of the game. It wasn't like he was blowing you away with power or discipline and his eye, or like he does it all, like a 5-tool player, right? That was the thing that kind of stood out to me, is that I think that's possibly why I said that the organization really values him, because they put him in the spring breakout game. He did pretty well there. And then the last game, this is the one thing that Mike was at the last game against the Guardians. And that's probably where I texted Mike. I think I said it reminded me of Stephen Kwan. He was the last out of the game, but fouled off like 6 or 7 straight pitches because he just is a hard out. And that's something that I think the Cincinnati Reds haven't had a lot of guys that make it hard for you to get them out. You know what I mean? Like, this is like a aspect of the Guardians. This is an aspect of like the Brewers. They make you work for the 27 outs. Yeah. While a lot of our guys strike out or fly out, you know what I mean? Like, have a little bit of holes in their game. I think Vu could be this guy that, could be maybe a fastest riser, like you said.
Yeah. So our hot take is that Vu skips and he goes to Dayton to start the year.
Yeah. Yeah, very well could be. Any other thoughts about our Daytona Tortugas hitters before we move it on?
I guess if I had to make a bold take, I think that, I think Pablo Nunez is projected to play in the ACL to start the year. Yeah. I don't know how often prospects get called up before the end of the ACL season, but I just think the way he performed in Australia, with Australia being like I just say AA talent pool, to perform the way he did, I think he's going to outperform ACL talent fairly quickly. And that maybe he doesn't. He's got to get acclimated to the U.S., but he also had to get acclimated to Australia, which is the other side of the planet. So I think that, if he goes out and has a on-base percentage over 400 in the first, 3-4 weeks of the season, and, he's got an average over 300, like, I think you have to move him up, and I think he's going to be one that will be in Daytona fairly quickly.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. That's a good take. We'll leave that there. But now we'll move it on to our Dayton Dragons pitching staff, and they're going to be kind of interesting staff because they've got some guys that we've kind of suspected maybe, because they haven't finalized Chattanooga yet as of this taping. So it could be like a Luke Hayden and Harmon end up not being in Dayton anymore. So that kind of maybe opens up some spots for some other guys, namely like just had it here. Namely like a guy that Nestor Laurent, a Cole Schoenwetter, like a bunch of guys like that could possibly be pitching every day in Dayton. Jean-Pierre Ortiz could also go up to Chattanooga as well. So there may be a lot of guys moving around. We're not exactly sure who's going to be pitching for your Dayton Dragons, but I think the pitching staff had, they had a rough year, to be honest with you, and they had that long winning streak at the end. So they could hopefully build off of that going into it, the 2026 season. But I guess, my guy that I would single out to definitely be a guy to watch if he's still in Dayton would be a Luke Hayden. He got off to a great start in 2025, tailed off, ended up going to fall league, got a little bit hurt there. So we'll see exactly what he kind of looks like in 2026. He may be in Chattanooga, so we might not even be seeing him in Dayton when we go watch some games. But what is a pitcher that you're looking to watch in 2026 in Dayton?
Oh man, I think Jean-Pierre Ortiz is one. I think he was in contention for minor league pitcher of the year last year. Jose Franco got it. He's been just really, really consistent. Just he struggles with command at times, but he cracked the top 30 list towards the end of last season when a couple players graduated. I think that he's going to be one that, if he can figure out the command aspect of pitching, he's still just 21 years old. He was 7-1 last year in 91 in the third innings. Had a K rate of 8.18 and a walk rate of 3.25. But what you can probably attribute it to Daytona, but he had an 0.69 home run per nine. So lots of ground balls from him. His BABIP's just 280. So batting average on balls in plays is just 280, which is pretty good. And he's just going through some of the advanced stats. I'm not an analytic guy by any means, but just, runners left on base percentage, 76%, ground ball percentage, 40%. So those are numbers that translate into major league pitching. Mm-hmm. And I think he's going to be one that can really, really kind of put on a show for Dayton. And I think just him getting that next step up, facing better talent, I think we can really showcase the pitcher that he is.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, it would be nice to see JP Ortiz. I think he had one of the top strikeouts to continue on that for the organization, or at least the Dragons. He was a top strikeout guy, so that'd be nice to see him kind of keep progressing and hopefully continuing to do that. My guy Nesto Durant, I want to say he got a little bit hurt, and that's kind of why I was figuring that he might be a guy to keep an eye out. He only pitched 98 innings last year. He went 2-10 with a 5.79 ERA. So I guess the thing to watch out for him, hopefully kind of a bounce back season going into 2026, because he had really good stats in 2024 in the two teams he played for in the minors between Dayton and Daytona. So it ended up having 1.44 ERA in 2024 for Daytona, which got him promoted to Dayton. So I think with the rough 2025, having him possibly bounce back and get back on track and hopefully pitch more than 100 innings this time around, I think that's another guy to keep an eye out for your Dragons.
He's a really good talent that's been kind of undervalued here lately. And, he had some favor earlier in his prospect career to where you were excited about him and then kind of struggled a little bit. So he kind of falls out of favor with all the other talent coming through. But I think, kind of resetting after the injury can really, just get his confidence back. We're seeing that with Chase Petty today, honestly, with his opening day start for Louisville, just looking phenomenal. And I wanted to get back to JP Ortiz real quick because
sure.
I had mentioned that his BABIP was 280. His batting average, his actual batting average against was 230. So it wasn't too far off of his BABIP, and that's pretty good, especially with all the ground balls he gets. And I think, the higher levels you get, more ground balls turn into outs with better defense behind you. And, he's no slouch on strikeouts too. He had 100, he had 83 last year, 33 walks. I like him, and I like all of our options, really. There's not many pitchers that are coming through Dayton that I'm not really kind of excited about. I think they all have a unique niche to them that you can make an argument that they could develop into someone really good.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely, we talked about this, I think also with Clay, that there's a definite step up from pitchers in A ball to double A. And, that could be a big learning curve for a bunch of these guys that are still with Dayton or Daytona, is they got to be able to really command their off-speed pitches, really locate the strike zone with their fastball. Like all the kind of little small details become very, very important when you start to move up the levels. But yeah, it should be a decent group, but not as exciting as the hitters that we're going to have in Dayton. And we're going to get to that because, I mean, we've talked about them already with our prospects to know. I think the head of the 2027 class of prospects, at least like I like to dub it, is Mr. Alfredo Deneau. And I don't think there's any way that he doesn't start in Dayton unless he skips another level and goes to Chattanooga. But I don't think that's the case. They just signed a guy recently to take over for Connor Burns while he's hurt on the 60-day IL. So Alfredo Deneau, definitely a guy to keep an eye on. But Ryan McChrystal right there as well, his battery mate that will be basically there to catch when he's not catching or playing DH or what have you. That's another guy to keep an eye out for. Even like a Peyton Stovall. That's a guy who finished strong last year with that 18 out of 19 game winning streak or series or the last 19 games of the season where they went on a really nice run. And then I guess still like a yearling confidant. The question becomes, I guess, Carlos Jorge, if he's going to be moving up. I'm not sure if we talked about him too much at the Chattanooga preview, but he could be possibly in Chattanooga moving on from Dayton, as he had been there for, I think, a year and a half or so. So we'll keep an eye out for that whenever that news comes through, when they make the Chattanooga roster official. But any guys that stand out to you that you want to keep an eye out for Dayton?
Yeah, I think Kyle Henley's going to move up and play in Dayton this year. Anytime you steal 57 bases, and it didn't have the power to show for it. He only had one home run. He's got 3 minor league home runs in his career. He's got 94 stolen bases in, I think, 2 full seasons. And yeah, he played in 4 games in 23. 57 games in 24 and 99 games. So just do the math on that. If he plays a full season, he probably steals 70 to 75 bases if he plays 120 games. I think I'm trying to find the stat on it. I know you had mentioned it before. He cut his strikeout percentage down a lot throughout the rest of the year. And by doing that, he actually got his batting average up as well. And obviously on base translated, and he got the stolen bases to match that. But he's someone that I think that could really develop into a table setter if he could get more contact, because the lack of power, I think he would need to develop the contact ability. But I think his swing isn't a bad swing, and he's really good at putting the bat on the ball. It's just where it's going. And I think, getting better hitting coaches as you move up the ranks will help with that. And, I don't want to say he's Billy Hamilton, because I think he could be way better than Billy Hamilton. But the stolen bases scream Billy Hamilton, and he's very underrated as a prospect. So I think, like I said, if he can get the batting average up, maybe in a more hitter-friendly ballpark in Dayton, can help him kind of do that.
Oh yeah, for sure. That'd be great to see. Henley has the stat I think you're alluding to is like when the season started in like April and May, he had like a 45% strikeout rate, and like each subsequent month after that, cut it down to like he was at August, September at the end of the season about 22% strikeout rate. So he cut it in half, and that's fantastic. Hopefully he can start off that season 22% or lower and keep going and be like the table setter, leadoff hitter, outfielder that we'd love to see. My guy that I'd like to definitely also point out there is Yearling Confidant is a guy I guess I'll just do quickly. Not necessarily one to watch. I'm more intrigued because he's got the body type and the size of a guy that you're like, wow, that is like a professional hitter, a professional baseball player. But he doesn't seem to like follow through with the production, and his outfield isn't as great defense as you like. So he maybe even profile as a guy who could possibly be like a DH if he makes it up the levels and whatnot. So I'm really kind of just intrigued to hopefully see him kind of break out a little bit more this year. He looks like he's got all the tools, and he's got like just the body type of a guy that you're just like, wow, like 6'4", 170 pounds. And that he's probably not even that. That was probably when he eventually, like, he kind of like probably when he's like his first playing in Daytona or whatever. But like his numbers not great. 224, 4 homers and 48 RBIs in 112 games. Like that, something's not matching up. Maybe he's just not adjusting well. It's his first full year at Dayton. So maybe this second year, maybe we'll see something more production out of him.
Yeah, his his BABIP was 318. So I mean, like, he's hitting the ball hard, and he's just hitting it in places that people just end up being there. I'm looking at Steamer has projections on him for this year, but I don't think they they have it right because they have him playing 0 games with 1 plate appearance.
Okay.
With a walk percentage of 6%. I don't know how you do that, but and a 30% strikeout percentage. So I don't know how you can calculate that with 1 game. But
good question.
I think that, like you said, he has the body type where you look at somebody and you go, man, that guy's got, Fangraphs has his raw power as a 60 grade out of 70. That's impressive, and his speed is actually 50 out of 40. So he's above there. I don't know how these numbers work, man. This is weird. But 50 out of 40, I don't know how you do that, but his fielding 30 out of 50. That times out. But you look at his, I think he's had some injuries over the last couple of years. He played in 91 games in 24, 74 games in 23, 31 games in 22, 76 games in another. Well, he played 22. He played a lot of games. And then 2021, I think that was his debut season. He played in 50 games. Yeah, I think if he could put it together, I think he could start to climb because he's starting to get up there in age for a low level prospect. Someone that hasn't cracked, high A yet. And, he's 6'4", like, and to have that raw power that he has at his size, 6'4", 170, if that's accurate, like, I think that, if he could grow, he could put even more raw power.
Yeah, for sure. It just when I see him play in Dayton, he stands out. When you got Carlos Jorge next to him, who's like 5'8", 120 pounds, soaking wet. So it's very stark comparison. And we talked about your hot take that Vu could possibly be in Dayton. That's another guy to keep tabs on and see what he ends up looking like. And the reason why I guess we Ricky, I think you made that take is I think because Jorge might be moving up, which would possibly make space for Vu in Dayton. So we'll be waiting to see the official stuff on that when they make all these rosters official. Again, the only one that really is official as of right now is Louisville because they're playing. So we'll see. The rest of these teams, I believe, Chattanooga for some reason starts the season on a Friday, and Dayton and Daytona start on Thursday, April 2nd. So they're coming up soon. We're gonna have all 4 levels, at least in affiliate ball, going to be playing, which will be awesome because our minor league Mondays are going to be dedicated exclusively to covering the recaps of their weeks and the highs and lows and the guys that perform well and maybe be struggling and what have you. So I don't know. Spoiler alert: Chase Petty might be on there a lot. So just saying.
Yeah. Someone that I wanted to talk about that kind of been under the radar. Fangraphs has him projected to play in Daytona, but I could see him playing in Dayton, is Alfredo Alcantara. He has an ETA of 2029 for his major league debut. I think that bumps up a little bit. He's a smaller kid. He's 5'9", 165 pounds. He's 20 years old. His speed grade is 60, so very fast, raw power is 50 out of 55. Game power is 25 out of 50. So he just hasn't really developed into the hitter that, in a game situation. But we saw him in spring a few weeks or a few days ago rip a home run, line drive right out of left field. And granted, it's Arizona, balls just fly out of the ballpark there. We saw that with Matt McClain, but I think he's one that we could really keep an eye on as someone that is kind of an under the radar prospect that had a pretty decent season last year with Daytona. He hit his first his first home run in AAA. He actually, I remember because he messaged Greg Reg Daily 4 on Instagram after the game and asked him to clip it for him, which was funny. But last year, 295 average, 8 home runs, 10 stolen bases, and 899 OPS, which that's really good for. He's listed as a shortstop, but I think he had some time at third base and I think second base, if I remember right.
Yep.
Yeah. So he played 16 games at shortstop and 27 games at third base and 38 games at second base last year. So I think he'll be one that can really kind of maybe surprise some people next year.
Yeah, for sure. Like just 20 years old, just turned 20, just like Alfredo Duno, basically. So that might be a couple guys that come through. I don't know. You said 2029. He may be maybe 2028 if he's a little bit faster track. He also kind of runs into the logjam of Leo Balcazar, Edwin Arroyo, Matt McClain, and Ellie, and what have you, in the middle infield positions. So we'll see how that works out for him. He's definitely a guy that I think we value as well because he's number 17 in our top 30. So like he's definitely a guy to keep an eye out for. And yeah, heck, if he's in Dayton, that's another guy to watch alongside McChrystal and Duno. And hopefully Dayton's not going to be one of these teams that win like only 30 games this year. Hopefully they can translate in some exciting wins for the fan base to go along with just having prospects that could be future Reds. So keep an eye on those guys.
They ended their season on fire last year, so I think they might get out of the gates hot with some new refreshed talent as well.
But here's the thing. I think Alexander Vargas, the guy that Jonathan Harmon called as the good luck charm, the good luck winning streak charm, he's projected to be in Chattanooga. So there may be some issues there with Dayton in terms of not having their good luck charm to be, thank you, Vargas and whatnot that they did after every single victory at the end of the season. But yeah, that's just a little inside baseball, literally. So like, but yeah, any other guys that you want to shout out to look for on your Dayton Dragons?
No. Just I can't wait to get up there and catch at least a game or two this season. Fun fact, I've never been to any minor league baseball games, so really? I plan on going to at least a couple Dayton games, a couple Louisville games, and who knows, maybe we can make a trip down to Chattanooga on a weekend or something and catch it. They have the new ballpark this year, right? So maybe we can catch the new stadium, get some Austin Hendrick game action.
Yeah, for sure. The one thing about Dayton is we got to get out there probably in April before they start looking at how these guys are doing, and maybe some mid-season promotions might happen if we get out there too late in June or July. So
yeah, it might be one of those things where we go to a Dayton game in April and we go to a Chattanooga game in July and we're seeing the same players.
Yeah, pretty much. Could be. But yeah, on that note, with promotion and rising, what would be a guy or a couple guys that you're thinking, Ricky, that could be moving through the system quicker than expected, or a guy that we should probably keep tabs on because, yeah, like you said, he might not be on that team anymore. He might be moving on up to the next level. Who would be your guy or guys that you would put in that category?
Yeah, so I think the easy answer is Alfredo Duno, but I think Ryan McChrystal is going to be a fast riser this year. There's not a whole lot of catching depth that's like people that you're generally excited about. And McChrystal's 23 and a half, I guess, technically, if you're going to do half ages. But, Connor Burns is ahead of him at AA with Cade Hunter. They were non-roster invites, or Cade Hunter wasn't, but Connor Burns was a non-roster invite. And I think he's starting the season on the IL, right, for Chattanooga.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I think they just signed that other catcher, right? Pablo
Aliendo. Yeah.
Aliendo.
Mhm.
So I'm assuming he's going to fill that backup catcher role in Chattanooga behind Cade Hunter, because I'm assuming Cade Hunter is going to be the starter.
Or actually,
then
I
you
think
have
Troutwine's in Chattanooga as well.
Okay, because then you got Will Banfield in AAA with
PJ Higgins.
With PJ Higgins, not PJ Tucker, if you remember last week.
Yeah.
But I think McChrystal, just his experience, he was a really good catcher in college, and he caught some really good major league talent. He caught why am I drawing a blank on his name?
Trey Savage.
Is Savage for Toronto.
Mhm.
Caught him in college. And he's a really good hitter. So not only is he kind of more advanced catching than Duno, just as far as being a catcher, you look at his stats last year. He played in 87 games between Dayton and he played 87 between Dayton and Daytona. He played in Dayton towards the end of the season for about 5-6 weeks, I think. He had a BABIP of 356 with a 289 batting average. He slugged 418. WRC plus 115. So he was, 15% above league average as a hitter. So that's something you can get excited about, just because of the lack of catching depth, or I guess good catching we've drafted over the last decade. since Tyler Stevenson. Really, it's kind of been downhill ever since. And just seeing the catchers that we have in the system now behind, once you get to high A and below, we have a lot of really good talent. Because, the last couple of years, Duno's been the only catcher on the top 30. And I don't think we had a catcher on the top 30 prior to Duno getting selected or signed for a couple of years anyway. Now we have 2, with potentially 3 if McChrystal can get out to a hot start in, I'm assuming, Dayton. And I think he can be one that, let's just say AA. Connor Burns' injury takes a little longer to recover from than we think. I think he's on a 60-day IL. Maybe it turns into a whole season thing. And Pablo Aliendo doesn't really pan out to the catcher they want him to be. And McChrystal's down there in Dayton, hitting 280 with 10 home runs, catching good games. Like, he could be one that could be called up, and that can give Duno full reins in Dayton. And then I like the dynamic of them two kind of coming up together, because I think they kind of feed off of each other. And like, there's that, we heard it from McChrystal in our interview with them, talking about Duno, about he's like, yeah, you hit 18 home runs, but like, I'm not hitting him 150 miles an hour off the bat, but like 102 is still putting it over the fence. So like, I don't want to say he feels slighted by him. I think he likes the competition to, like, this guy's this top tier talent. I hold my own. I hold my own against this guy, and I think he's going to earn a really quick promotion this year.
Yeah, that'd be very nice to see. I do definitely think they like his hitting profile of line drive hitting and whatnot, because he's a golfer, so he's really good with his eye contact and be able to put bat to ball. So I really think they value that in him as well, and the flexibility of him playing first base as well kind of helps with, like, Duno to kind of still be in the lineup. McChrystal can be, even if Duno is catching that day. So there's that. My guy to watch, because I think he'll be a really quick riser. And I think a lot of people that know Reds prospects know this guy is Tyson Lewis. I guess that could be also another easy answer like Alfredo Duno. But my reasoning behind Tyson Lewis rising through this system is I think they see him as a third baseman going forward. He's a shortstop for Daytona probably this year every single day. But I think they see his strength and power. And I told you this. I've told this story as well. Going to Reds Fest, he was up there doing a segment with Duno and him as like, prospects to watch or whatever they're doing at that point. Walking next to Alfredo Duno, not that much smaller than him. And that's kind of crazy to think about because he's a shortstop, primarily third baseman, you know what I mean? But he also has that StatCast record at ACL where he hit the ball 119 or 118 off the bat. So I really think they see him possibly being, the hot corner, power bat, maybe the guy that takes over after Key Brian Hayes is done in Cincinnati, playing alongside Ellie or Edwin Arroyo or whomever is there at short and basically hitting 30 to 40 home runs possibly in his peak of his powers. So
yeah, I mean, he could be a 30-30 guy, no problem, I think.
Yeah, and they used him a lot at the big league level. He was in camp for a long time. They were putting him out there. Obviously, once they got like the main guys out for most spring training games and stuff like that, and he didn't look like it was too big for him because he's another guy like Duno and Alcantara. No, not Alcantara. What were we talking about? He just turned 20. But anyway, like this is still a young guy, a 2006 birthday for both Duno and Mr. Tyson Lewis. So like these guys, again, maybe another part of the class of 2027, but it might be a little bit more difficult for Tyson. It might be 28 or 29, depending on, I guess, how quickly he progresses and how he deals with AA and AAA pitching going forward. So that's my guy because he seems to have, again, like all the tools, hits the ball super hard, and he's kind of got like the body type that you see at the major league level, at least third base or maybe a future outfielder as well, if maybe third base doesn't work out. But right now, I think they see him there as far as I could tell, and it'll be interesting to see his progression this year. And he could be in Dayton sooner than later, being promoted from Daytona. So we'll definitely be keeping tabs on that so that we can keep you updated on Mr. Tyson Lewis, our, I think, number 3 prospect, I want to say.
Yes, I think we have him at 3.
Number 3. So yeah, kind of an easy answer, kind of slam dunk. Oh, he's going to do really well. He's highly touted prospect. No surprises here. Big surprise. Tyson Lewis is good at baseball.
Now,
anyway.
we don't have it on our segment here, but I wanted to ask you real quickly. Who's a prospect that we haven't really talked about in the low A, high A levels that maybe has struggled with injury over the last couple of years? I think you kind of touched on it with Laurent, but someone that you're really looking to hope to see bounce back. And I know like one that I'm wanting to look for, and I know he's starting this season on the IL, is Ricky Cabrera. I was really excited about him when we signed him in 2022. It just really kind of hasn't panned out injury-wise for him. He's really kind of struggled to stay healthy. I think there's some potential there. He came up as a shortstop. They're using him all over the place, shortstop, third base, second base. And I think that I just hope he can get healthy this year and we can kind of see him become just a consistent player.
Yeah, another guy that comes to mind that you're bringing up in this sort of topic or what have you, Ty Floyd. Even Carrick sent me on a mission to try to see if Ty Floyd was pitching or not, and I found someone that was named T. Floyd, but it ended up being Taylor Floyd.
Yeah,
who's, I think going to be possibly at Chattanooga in the bullpen there. But anyway, so like that's another guy that hopefully can get it back on track. I think he's only like 20, 21 maybe, but has been often injured and hasn't really been able to figure it out as of yet because he hasn't been able to be available to pitch. So that'd be my kind of pick for that category.
Yeah, it was just something that popped in my head. We were talking about Connor Burns' injury, and I was just thinking about players that have dealt with injury and guys that we want to see. Obviously we want to see them all healthy, but just guys that we were kind of excited about in previous years that haven't really had the consistency with health.
For sure. Yeah. And those guys, hopefully, they'll get it right. We know that injuries are a part of the game, but it's something that, I don't know. Sometimes, Sal Stewart ends up getting a bunch of promotions because Cam Collier gets hurt. Like that stuff kind of maybe opens up avenues for certain players to excel that we didn't talk about on the show. So there could be a lot of things that happen. So stay tuned to Minor League Mondays because we'll keep you up to update on all the different things that are happening in minor league baseball for your Redlegs and your Reds organization. Ricky, you got any other thoughts before we sign off?
No, just huge shout out to Chase Petty tonight, man. 4 2/3, 8 strikeouts. Like he's, I got something coming out on him after the show, so it's gonna be I'm just happy for him.
Prospect to know, Chase Petty, huh? All right,
there we go.
No, yeah. Stay tuned to that. We'll have more of those segments. We're going to go a lot more deeper into the Reds organization. We started off Alfredo Duno. We're really appreciative of everyone that watched that and liked it and commented and shared it. We really appreciate that. Trying to do some different recorded stuff for you guys. And this one's going to be coming out on Monday. So we'll possibly be in the comments because actually I won't be able to go live for that because I'll be at the game watching Chase Burns have his season opener on Monday the 30th. So I'll give you a report after that, maybe a short video or something midweek. We'll or after the game, we'll see what we do at that.
Red Hot Reds live from the stadium.
Yeah, I mean, if he's gonna be, Chase Petty is coming for his job, kind of a little bit.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I'll have to figure that out. But yeah, also shout out Trevor Kunsel got in the game, inning and a third. It seemed like he got out of the jam that Petty got into the fifth inning. So shout out to those guys for having their debut in AAA for the Louisville Bats coming out. Still 0 runs given up, 2-0 Louisville Bats. Let's go. But
let's go.
Yeah. As we always say at the end of every show, go Reds.
Go Reds.